Heel strike and low drop shoes. Should you be worried? Are you a heel striker worried about running with low drop shoes? Or maybe you've heard the common advice that low drop shoes will wreck your tendons. My cousin, a very famous runner, once told me I couldn't run in low drop shoes without risking serious tendon problems. But after diving deep into the science and reading countless articles, I've discovered the truth isn't so straightforward. Some low drop shoes can actually be deceptive. The measured drop may differ from the effective drop when you're running, depending on your gait and the terrain. In fact, some low drop shoes provide more protection for your tendons than popular wisdom suggests. Let's break it down. As explained by Benno Nigg, a renowned expert in running biomechanics, the dynamics of heel strike are influenced by the compound of the midsole and the force exerted by the runner. The classic definition of drop is the height difference between the heel and the forefoot, measured from the ground. While using a Dyson vacuum to measure, it might not be ideal. Yes, it happens. Organizations like World Athletics provide precise guidelines to determine the drop scientifically. In this video, I'll reveal which low drop shoes you can use confidently without fearing injuries, and how understanding the dynamics of your running style can make all the difference. Let's get into it. For slow runs, I suggest the Cloud Monster version 2. White or black, which is perhaps more classic because it has a 6 mm drop. But at the same time, if you run with a pleasant heel strike, you might also have a drop higher than 10. But then why do I suggest the Cloud Monster, which, although having a 6 mm drop, are in my opinion at least with a 10 mm drop, certainly because these shoes have a boat-like structure. This is a fundamental characteristic of shoes with a deceptive drop, and especially because they are absolutely much harder. And therefore, if you don't have significant weight, if you watch the YouTube video where I told the story of this shoe and interviewed some girls, they told me these shoes are too hard because you actually need significant weight. And anyway, I suggest them to the amateur runner who wants to try running fast because they have quite significant responsiveness despite being flexible, but especially if you land on your heel, they might allow you to run really fast without actually straining the tendon. In the previous model, there was a small issue because in the upper part, thankfully, they corrected it. It was absolutely too hard, but now the shell is softer, and therefore I really suggest it to the 80 kilograms runner. By the way, it would be deceptive if I told you to subscribe to the channel, not to miss further reviews of everything around the running world, right below which ones you want to see, and especially subscribe because these videos will continue to be on my channel. For repeated medium distances, I suggest the Speed 4 Endorphin, which in my opinion, even with an 8 mm drop, if you land on your heel, the drop could be, my cousin told me, equal to 12. Even the Endorphin Speed 4 are absolutely deceptive. They have an 8 mm drop, but certainly higher, because they are a relatively hard but much more stable shoe than the previous models, which perhaps were slightly more responsive, especially because they had a much stiffer plate compared to this one. But if you land on your heel, you will have a very pleasant feeling. And therefore, the very stable heel strike allows you, thanks always to the same boat-like structure, a higher drop, so you won't have problems also because the shell is quite soft, which will make you land pleasantly. Obviously, this shoe is designed to land quickly, but you should consider that it has very limited toe space, at least for the amateur runner with wide feet, to whom I do not recommend this shoe, but it could certainly help you achieve your personal best in half marathons. For races, I suggest the Hoka Max 6 with a 5 mm drop, which depending on the strike could be equal to 10 or even 12. But if you are a highly evolved amateur runner, I would suggest the Mach X2, which might be illegal. But if you finish 500th in a marathon, no one checks you. The Mach 6 is really incredible because with a heel strike, you would have a significant energy return. This compound is really stable and at the same time not so soft unless you run really fast, which allows you to have a dynamic drop certainly very close to 10, but perhaps even slightly more. Obviously, then it depends on your weight, your run, and your strike. Another deceptive shoe is the KD 900 XLD without the plus, which has a carbon plate by Kipren, a brand distributed by Decathlon. This shoe has a 4 mm drop, but with a heel strike. It's designed for the amateur runner looking to improve, but who doesn't yet have a perfect strike because they don't have a coach to refer to for running faster. This shoe has a more significant dynamic drop, which, thanks to the improved compound compared to the previous model, might allow you to run faster. And obviously, in my opinion, the drop in this case is close to 8, but perhaps even 10, depending on your weight. If instead you are runners with pronation, in my opinion, the most deceptive shoe is the Hurricane 24, not the 24th model, but that's not a problem. It has a 6 mm drop, but uses a very, very hard compound in the lower part, while in the upper part it's really soft. noble, pleasant, and therefore you could run pleasantly. But at the same time, thanks to the stability, this shoe could have a dynamic drop higher than 8, but perhaps even 10, depending on your weight. And so I recommend it to the amateur runner who wants to run pleasantly and might weigh 80 to 90 kilograms. There are anyway many models available for the amateur runner. For example, this Topo Spectre 2 is quite deceptive with a 5mm drop, but with the possibility to strike the heel very pleasantly thanks to a P-Bax compound that could actually give you an added value and a competitive advantage. In my opinion, the point of this video is not to only think about the static drop, but try to get advice, for example, from the store, if the store is able to do so, and therefore make a conscious choice. Finally, another deceptive shoe, although the Chinese have used very aggressive marketing indicating all running parameters, something no European company does, are these Kyodan 2.0, which have a very reactive Kung Fu Pro compound, noble but at the same time very stable. It also has a curved rocker structure, and in case you land on your heel, you could actually run very fast because this shoe isn't very expensive but allows you, having a relatively classic structure, to run really fast and with this compound actually reach your personal best. Also thanks to a nylon plate which isn't too aggressive but has quite good responsiveness. Having said that, thanks for watching. In the meantime, stay strong, keep running. I will make further videos in the coming days as usual, and unfortunately I can't go eat with myself. See you next time. Bye.